Good evening. Thanks for joining us tonight. Today, a majority of UW-Oshkosh faculty have given a thumbs down to Chancellor's financial management skills.
The formal no confidence vote is a symbolic condemnation of Andrew Leavitt and the choices made to bring UW-O out of a financial crisis. In a First Alert update, Samantha Cavalli walks us through today's vote and how the Chancellor is reacting.
The faculty at UW-Oshkosh has spoken. 2/3 of the faculty have voted they do not have confidence in the university's chancellor, Andrew Leavitt. Last summer, UW-Oshkosh announced an $18 million deficit, which in turn prompted hundreds of layoffs or offered voluntary retirement. In response, 74 faculty signed and presented a petition to the Faculty Senate in February, asking for a formal vote of no confidence. Of those faculty members is Michelle Kuhl. She says she wasn't surprised by the vote result, but is thankful many faculty came together to send a message.
So we took no joy in this. It's been unfortunate that even with all the stresses statewide on the university system, our university has consistently underperformed in the financial realm year after year.
Sociology professor Paul Van Auken felt relief after months of hard work. He hopes this vote will get those in power to listen.
The faculty have made their voice clear. I don't think anybody can dispute that this is a very clear evaluation of the top administration here, and that it's not a satisfactory.
Chancellor Leavitt releasing the following statement to the Titan community, saying in part, "The faculty referendum results released today are a reaction to hard but necessary decisions I have made as chancellor. In a matter of months, UW-O has reduced an $18 million deficit to approximately $3 million. We are closing that remaining gap by redesigning and innovating our academic structure, which will save additional administrative costs. We remain on a responsible path, and I appreciate everyone's continued stewardship," end quote. Kuhl says she believes in UW-Oshkosh as an institution and looks forward to a better future with more transparency and seats at the table.
In terms of the Faculty Senate, union representation, and different faculty and staff and adjuncts and everyone at the university should be able to have a seat at the table.
The Faculty Senate president is hoping to meet with Chancellor Leavitt to discuss concerns the community has expressed to them during open forums. The union is calling on Chancellor Leavitt to resign and bring in fresh new leadership. In Oshkosh, Samantha Cavalli, Action 2 News.